Hello everybody, so I'm sure you guys have been waiting quite a while for the part 2 to my last video where I was in the beginning stages of discussing parenting with autism and or ADHD and or depression and anxiety, and how that may differ from being a neurotypical person parenting. So one thing I forgot to mention in my sensory overload from my last video is kids. I mentioned my kids always touching me. I failed to mention certain textures on my skin can become very, very overwhelming for me, such as stickiness and sliminess, and just if my kids have something on their hands, which kids always have something on their hands, and they touch me and it's now on my skin, that can result in a meltdown, a small meltdown, but a meltdown nonetheless. I've found ways of coping with that, but it's still a very, very difficult thing for me to handle. I just can't tolerate stuff on my skin. I don't like it. But kind of where I left off, where did I leave off? I left off on focusing issues, and I think I pretty much covered the focusing issues. Yeah. So another thing is depression and anxiety. Anxiety typically comes with autism and comes with ADHD, and then depression can also come with that. So there's like this laundry list of problems. When you are a parent dealing with anxiety, your children kind of raise the bar on that anxiety. And when you have depression, that can affect how attentive you are as a parent. And people just kind of don't get that. People who don't suffer with that, they don't get that or understand that. I lost my train of thought. Organization. So for somebody with autism, things have to be a certain way, have to be organized a certain way. I have been doing this my whole life. I like to put movies in alphabetical order, also genre order. I like to put books in order of thickness to thinness or tallness to shortness. And if my things are moved, if anybody moves my things, and my kids mess with everything for absolutely no reason. My children are also not neurotypical, so they do things. And this really, really gets to me. And I have this trait so badly that when I used to visit my mom's house or even live with my mom has a bookshelf full of books. She loves to read. And at any given time that her books were out of whack, I would arrange her books from tallest to shortest and thinnest to thickest. I would arrange them every time. And if at all they were out of order when I revisited her, I would rearrange them all over again. And I'm not sure she ever noticed that I did that. But I have to do that. It irritates me. I even organize my fridge. Like, ketchup has to be in a certain part of the door. And I would also do this at my mom's house. I don't know if she noticed that either. So, organization and our desperate need to have things organized. Very OCD. Parenting having children with dealing with that issue while having children is very, very difficult because children want to mess with stuff. So there's a long list of things that make parenting a little bit more difficult for us to cope with due to certain ways that we handle things. Another thing is I cannot tolerate an overload of things that are required of me, like keep track of this appointment and that appointment, make this phone call, schedule that, do this, do that, keep track of this, and all those things that you have to do as a parent. You have to make appointments, you have to know which kid goes where on what day, and you just have to keep track of all these things, and I have a really, really hard time with doing that. And also making appointments, making phone calls. For a neurotypical person, making a phone call and making a scheduled appointment is just an everyday thing. For me, it causes major anxiety. And I oftentimes, well, I don't anymore because I can't, but when I was younger and only had to make appointments for myself, I would rely on my mom to do it for me. Like when I was pregnant with my son, like I would rely on my mom to do all the scheduling and remembering for me and everything, because it was just so much for me to bear. And now I have